Welcome back to Ravenous Babble. My name is Dan, and it's time for your monthly market babble. Today I want to really focus on Legendaries and in-demand Majestics. So let's get right into it. Starting off with Skullbone Crosswrap, this card has truly tanked in price from what it was pre-Outsiders. People were hyped up about Azalea. She turned out to be pretty good. The card kind of maintained its price, then people started messing with New Horizon Azalea, then it started to drop a little bit, and people realized that, oh, we can just play Lexi instead. So ever since then, ever since that realization and Lexi started doing good, Skullbone Crosswrap has been on the downtrend. Also, Warmonger's Diplomacy is a card now, so Azalea is seeing almost no play, and we'll get into that later, but it is what it is. Mask of Momentum is a great pickup at around $62. That's just fantastic. Fi and Katsu might not be super prevalent right now, but they're not by any means bad. So if you're looking to get into Ninja, that's a great price to get in at. Same goes for Brave Forge Bracers and Tectonic Plating, and even Grasp of the Arknight. $70 for Grasp, $30 for Brave Forge Bracers, $35 for Tectonic Plating. These are great prices for legendary staples for their respective classes. Then you have stuff like Scabskin Leathers. This was around $32 to $35 the other day. It looks like it is starting to go back up a little bit, but I would still expect to see this hovering around $35, give or take. It's just maybe a little bit up right now. Arcanite Skullcap used to be the budget alternative for Crown of Providence. If you look at the prices now, we have Arcanite Skullcap at $39 and Crown of Providence at $64. Honestly, when the price difference is that little, I wouldn't even make the budget argument anymore. If you're looking to get a legendary headpiece and you're about $20 off, $25, just wait. Just get the extra $25, get the Crown of Providence. It's going to be worth it in the long run. Now, is Arcanite Skullcap bad? Not necessarily. It's still run in some decks. It's just not as ubiquitous as Crown of Providence. Declo Foundry Heart is at around $110. It did spike up a bit higher than that after the announcement of Bright Lights. It has since kind of settled down, but it's still above what it was going for prior to that announcement. So if you're looking to get into mech, that's what you're looking to pay. There's also the white bordered Declo Foundry Heart, if I could find it. There we go, for $85, and that's a pretty decent discount. So if you're looking to get into mech on a bit of a budget, there you go. I'm shocked that Stormstriders is still only $97. Icelander has been doing so good recently. I don't get it. I guess it could be argued that Icelander is well within reach of Living Legend, and there's 1,096 points coming up in the season between the calling in Las Vegas and the nationals all around the world. So maybe it's a risky buy at this point, but if you want to get into Wizard, if you want to get an Icelander and you plan on playing Wizard even after she goes away, that's a pretty good price to get in at. Shiana's back down to around $60, which is a lot better than where she was a couple months ago. I say it every time, this is a hero that is only going to get better. Because she can use every single specialization, it's just a matter of time before she gets something completely busted, and she just skyrockets right to Living Legend and Blitz. Dieta Carapace was going for around $35, like literally yesterday. Yeah, so that's pretty cheap. I don't know if Loot Card Shop is a real shop. There are some shops that end up being the lowest possible price for some of these cards, and then you'll go to make your purchase, and it'll say that there's a geographical error, something or other, and then the listing will get taken off TCG Player for a time until it's relisted, I assume, by the vendor. So that could be what's happening here. Dieta Carapace could still be a solid $35, but if you see this in time, maybe go for that one that's $28 if you're looking for it. Rainbow Foil Crown of Providence down to a little under $100, which is kind of extraordinary. It was going for $120 fairly recently, kind of rebounded to that, and now it's retraced back down to under 100. So if you're looking to get a rainbow foil Crown of Providence, this is a pretty good time to do that. It's only going to go up from here, probably not quickly, so I would imagine you have some time to scoop one up, but the rainbow foil will eventually go back up in value, and the cold foil will continue to climb in value. I do want to point out that now is an excellent time to get into Assassin. Black Tech Whispers are $45. Redback Shroud, if you're trying to play on a budget, I know, it's not good. People would much rather use Findel Spring Tunic for Assassin, but if you're trying to play on a budget, it's a $10 legendary. $10. Easy. And Flick Knives, not even $20. You're looking at 3 slots there for Assassin that you can just buy L's in for less than $100. Add in a Mask of Perdition, and you've got a full Assassin set ready to go. Now, is it optimal? Is it ideal? No. But if you're trying to play on a budget and you're trying to get some good gear going, there you go. Flamescale Furnace at $72. There were a couple listed for $63 in the past few days. They've been getting scooped up. So if you're looking to play Phi or Dromai, keep an eye out on the market. You might be able to find one for around $63, $65 to scoop up. But even if you can't find that, $72, not that bad for a really good chess piece. New Horizon at $170 roundabout, makes sense. Lexi is probably realistically the best deck in the format right now. Not that there aren't decks that can beat it or decks that are just as good as it, but it is definitely the most prevalent and it's very consistent, so makes sense. Iron Song Versus round about the same price of $30 as Brave Forge Bracers. Warriors have some options now when it comes to their hand slot, so there's that. But Iron Song Versus felt like it was a little slept on when it came out. People were kind of talking down on it, but in practice, this card is actually really good. Findel Spring Tunic, we got the Krunic at $170 roundabout. And then we've got the Welcome to Wraith one at $191, and the HP 1 copy at $165. These are good prices. They announced that we would start seeing the expansion slot introduced in Bright Lights, and the Findel Spring Tunic would be something you can find in that slot, given that that slot only pops up every 15 packs, and we don't know how often you're going to be able to get a legendary in that slot, and we also don't know how many legendaries there will be. We could see something like Tekla Foundry Heart in that slot as well to help reduce the price burden on Tekla Foundry Heart in general with the release of this set, since it might go up in demand. We could only see Findel Spring Tunic, time will tell, but this is people offloading their tunics that are either just not actively using them or they have extra tunics, whatever it may be. This is probably a good time to sell off your tunic, but I don't know if it's the best time to buy just yet. I think there's still a lot of room for this card to go down in price when Bright Lights comes out, and this is a broad range, but I would hope that Findel Spring Tunic would go down to anywhere between $80 and $120 after the reprint. My hope for Crown of Providence was like $85, and look at that now. So hey, maybe we'll be able to get Findel Spring Tunics for like $75 or less. But considering how often the expansion slot is going to appear, considering that there will be new cards in the slot, and considering my theory that we'll probably see heroes in that slot as well, like Tekla Vossen, I think that $100 is optimistic for this card. So if you're looking to get a tunic now, what's stopping you? But if you want to wait. It's not that far away. It will go down in price regardless. I just don't know how much. Again, on the Wizard train, look at this. Alluvian Constellus, $15.15. Come on now. Coronet Peak, $11. What is happening? These are great prices for these legendaries. Now, given, like I said, Icelander might LL sometime soon, but who knows? Levia is going down in price finally. She was holding steady at $80 for a while. So this thing seems to be dropping about every day, at least $1. I picked mine up at 50 and it immediately dropped to 48. Now it's at 48.50. So probably going to settle around $45 in the next 2 weeks, I would imagine. Now, that's assuming it doesn't do incredibly well in this upcoming national season, but we'll see what happens. Trench of Sunken Treasure is something that's surprising me actually, because Lexis have been picking it up as tech recently, and it hasn't really moved. It's still around $15. Maybe it's because of how many there are, because in Outsiders There was the foil version, the cold foil version, and then the extended art cold foil version. So there's a lot of these floating around. Emperor continues to just be less than $10. He's at around $6, $7 now. I've seen him as low as $5. If you don't have this hero in your collection, just scoop one up for $5 when you see it. White Border Stormstrider seems like a pretty good deal if you are trying to get into Wizard over the other Stormstriders, which are going for about 97, I believe, on the last page. So 79, reverse those numbers a bit. That's a pretty good deal. Let's go on to the last page. Again, another good deal on Mask Momentum, around $65. Grasp for $59, which is pretty decent. And there's not really much to talk about with the rest of these. So let's get on to the Majestics that I want to talk about. All right, we're talking about the big three: E-Strike, CNC, Art of War. Obviously, let's go over these real quick in Black Border. We got 24 for E-Strike, 50 for Art of War, which is up from the last few days. Again, Lexi's a thing. Command and Conquer around $92, pretty good. For the White Border ones, we're looking at $68 for Command and Conquer, $36. That's a pretty solid difference for the Art of War in White Border if you're looking to pick some up. And for E-Strike, which is not on this page, E-Strike we're looking at, again, $24. Alright, so back to the top, let's talk about Codex of Frailty, another $50 card for Lexi, also used in Azuri, so makes sense. This card's pretty popular, this card's very powerful. Starstruck, around $8 to $9. Premeditate, you're looking at $20. Another card that Lexi has been using recently, so that card might even go up a little more. Down and Dirty, around $12. Great popper. Swing Big, around $19. Everfest Majestics in general are kind of slept on, so just take note of that. Lost in Thought, around $6.30 on here, plus shipping probably around $7. Card is extremely good. If you haven't gone up against Lost in Thought yet, that card will ruin your day. All right, let's look at page 2 of these best-selling Majestics before I get on to the main topic. We got Glistening Steelblade, of course, still around $30, pretty typical. Remorseless around $14, another card that Lexi's using. Surprisingly, 3 of a Kind only around $5, and maybe that's because people are a little worried it might get banned. I'm not too sure. Oh man. Surgical Extraction at $3. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Remember when that was a $50 card, guys? Holy crap. Mischievous Meeps, actually down from $8 to around $5. This is a card that went up quite a bit when Bright Lights was announced because, let's face it, this card's going to be pretty good against Mechanologist. So if you're looking to get a playset before the release of Bright Lights, this might be a pretty good time to do that. Alright, let's talk about Warmonger's Diplomacy. So this card was going for $50 about a week ago. It's been fluctuating between $40, $45. $50 was a pretty high price point for it, and now it's back down to around $40. Now, the main reason for that, I think, is because Lexis have finally found a way to kind of play around it or play into it a little bit better, so this card is a little less ubiquitous in that sense. But there's something I want to get off my chest about this card. I'm not one to go out, grab my pitchfork, and just start yelling for a ban. And I don't know that this necessarily needs a ban, but there's something to be said about it for sure. I like effects like this that will turn the tables on a specific deck, a silver bullet, if you will, but I don't like it being generic. If this was in a class that, say, had a really bad matchup into Ranger, then this would be a good card to release into that class, right? To kind of help shore up a really bad matchup. So for instance, if Azuri got a card in the Assassin class that was really good against Dromai, that would make sense to me. And I'm not saying a card that would make it a straight 50-50, but maybe a 40-60 in Dromai's favor, just something to kind of make it more reasonable than what it is now. I think silver bullets in that sense are great and are appropriate for those specific classes and matchups. Not something that's going to make it a complete non-game, but something that's going to make it a more reasonable matchup, right? And I think Warmongers can do that. I think the good intention is there, kind of like for Erase Face and Humble. If a specific deck is really good, here's some tech against it. The only difference there is that those cards block for 2 and they're reds. This blocks for 3, it's a blue, and if you're on Ninja, it's a 0 cost, so it works in favor of Kodachi. Now I'm not sure if there was an aim when they released this card, but it was pretty decent into Dromai, and it was good into Lexi, and now you see Dromai's running them, and you see Lexi's running around them. So what does that leave us with? Well, the meta threats have been essentially working around it, right? What about the non-meta threats? Azalea and Viserai. There were 0 Azalea at the last Battle Hardened, and this is why. Azalea with this card and how popular it is in the current meta, especially with some decks just running it in their main board, not even as sideboard tech, Azalea just isn't going to make it. And Viserai sure as hell ain't going to make it. Now, you might see Viserai a bit more because I feel like there is a bigger fan base for Viserai, but I won't even think about playing Viserai as long as this card is relevant in the meta. So again, I'm not one to grab my pitchfork and ask for bans. I do think it would be appropriate for this card to get banned. And if we're trying to touch on Lexi a bit, I still think 3 of a Kind is the actual problem. And maybe Bullseye Bracers coming back is up for discussion, but Warmonger's Diplomacy, I don't know. It feels like it's just accidentally making some heroes completely unplayable. Now maybe if some heroes take this out of their main deck as a 3-of, just because it's a blue block 3, maybe Viserai is free game, and so is Azalea, but until that happens, you just might lose the matchup just because. Your opponent might not even bring in any tech against you. You're just like, oh, okay, I'm just going to play the game. And a card that they would have pitched or blocked with, they can just play now. Take that for what you will. If you need these cards to play with, the thing I'm always going to say to that is just buy them. If you need a card to play with it in a tournament, just buy the card. Whatever happens, happens. That's the risk you take as a competitive TCG player. But $40, if you don't absolutely need the card, I would probably just hold off. This card will hopefully either get played less because it's not as needed, or it might even see a ban. Now, don't go raging in the comments, this card doesn't need to get banned, people need to shut up, blah, blah, blah. I'm just saying what I think, man. It's a card that I could definitely see getting banned, only because it's a blue block 3, and it's so easy to just put it in any deck. And it unnecessarily removes 2 heroes at least from the meta game, as long as it's relevant. You can't fight me on that. So, that's your monthly market babble. Hope you got something out of this, and until next time, stay safe, keep playing great games. I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.
Shout out to the Ravenous Babble patrons who keep the channel going. If you would like to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/RavenousBabble and see which tier is best suited for you.